Welcome to the Voices of Young People podcast, brought to you by Springtide Research Institute. In each episode, we hear directly from young people as they respond to our research and share about the issues impacting their lives. As sociologists and researchers, we see a new story unfolding for young people, one that moves beyond traditional institutional boundaries and requires careful attention to the inner and outer lives of emerging generations. At the intersection of being and becoming, it's the Voices of Young People.
Hi everyone out there in podcast land. This is Josh Packard, the Executive Director of Springtide Research Institute, and you're listening to Season 3 of the Voices of Young People podcast. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Seasons 1 and 2, I strongly encourage you to do so, because Season 3, this one is a little bit different. In the other seasons, we've done interviews with me and a young person talking through some of our most unique findings and data points to try and go sort of deeper than the surface level data and hear how these statistics show up in young people's lives and lived experiences. And in this season, we're just hearing we've just removed me from the equation, which frankly I think is probably better for the listeners. And we've just got young people telling you all about their beliefs, telling you all about their faith lives, how religion shows up in their day-to-day existence. And this episode is, going out near and dear to the hearts of many people who, in a Christian context, what we are often referred to as PKs, pastors' kids. I knew a lot of these growing up. And you're going to hear in this episode from Mackenna. And she's going to share how her identity as a Christian shapes the way she seeks to build and engage community, how music is a place where she finds spiritual connection, and the way that she sees love for all people modeled by her dad, a pastor. So all those horror stories you've heard about PKs, Mackenna's here to turn them right on their head. All right, without further ado, here's Mackenna.
Hi everyone, I'm Mackenna Marshall. I'm 19 years old. I am a sophomore Christian Studies major at Point Loma Nazarene University. I'm involved at Point Loma in Alpha Groups, which is a mentorship program for incoming freshmen, and I am also a chapel worship intern. That's me. I identify as a Christian. I am a follower of Jesus. I was raised in the church as a pastor's kid, so that's pretty much all I was surrounded with that type of life all growing up and still today. But I made my faith my own when I was going into my freshman year of high school. And ever since then, I've been, working on my relationship with Jesus and following him and just trying to live in the love that he has shown me. When I think of God, it's for a lot of people, and even me, it's really hard that you can't see God. Like, you can't really feel him. It's like the air, like you can't see it, but you can feel it, sort of thing. But I also just feel like all people are longing for something in their souls. And like in my relationship with God, like I have my purpose and I have just this sense of belonging. And so when I think of God, I think of this just identification with myself, like knowing who I am. And also I love how I just love seeing faces of people, because everyone is made in the image of God and everyone is in that image. And so I see God in people, and I see God in relationships, and I see God in forgiveness and love. And I think God is in the midst of everything that is on this earth, everything that is good. So I do attend church. Well, right now it's all online, but I'm still attending church just virtually. It's harder now since we can't really meet in person, but back when things were normal, I was meeting with a small group, and at school I had my Alpha group, which is the mentorship thing I was talking about before, the chapel at school and everything. But I think it's so important with church and Bible studies and all these things that I'm reminded that I'm not alone in my faith, and that the church is bigger than just myself and my relationship with God, and that we're better together than we are apart. One of the most sacred experiences I've had was at summer camp a few years ago when I was leading worship, one of the last nights at camp. And we were singing a really cool song called Highlands. And there's super powerful lyrics, but the room was just full of all these students, all these like campers. I was one of them, but it was just super cool to be alongside all these other people who are just on fire for God. Just singing with so much like hope and excitement and just freedom. Like it wasn't like, sometimes worship can be super like weird and awkward and you don't know what to do, but everyone was just so free and bold. And I think that was one of the coolest things, to really just feel God's spirit in that room. And personally for me, it was super sacred because like I feel like I just let go of everything and I could just be free and just like be in this communion with God in this space. And yeah, that's my experience. Some of the faith practices that I'm involved in as a Christian are, well, just during the day, like since I'm home by myself a lot during this weird pandemic, I spend a lot of time in prayer, usually in the morning or at night, just like reflecting and kind of just laying all of everything that's in my head just in front of God. I find that to be super helpful, just to keep like an open communication between me and God, and it keeps this peace within my soul and not just keeping it all to myself, because I don't believe that's what we were made to do. Another thing is reading the Bible. I feel like I'm just a typical like Christian girl, but I really do just enjoy like my morning Devo times, reading my Jesus Calling. I feel like that speaks to me. It's just like short little Devo, but it speaks to me every single morning, just getting my heart and focus in the right place and reminding myself that like this day is not all about me, and it's about loving myself because God has loved me, but also loving others because of that love. Another thing I do is I play a lot of music. I love making music, singing, listening to music. I find that I experience God the most through music. I don't even know how to explain it. It just kind of makes my soul like light up when I'm listening to music or playing music. And another thing is social activism. I feel, but I also know that Jesus was radical in when he walked the earth, and he fought for the marginalized, and he fought for the people who didn't have a say in society, who were ignored, who were below, who were looked down upon. And I think just learning more about Jesus and what he was all about, he fought for those who didn't have a voice, and he fought for those who society ignored. So I think as Christians, it is one of the most loving things we can do to stand alongside our brothers and sisters and fight to give them the dignity that they have in God's eyes. I also spend a lot of time in community groups such as Alpha groups at Point Loma. Right now it's virtual, but we meet every week. I have a group of incoming freshman girls, and we just we pretty much just get to know each other and just create a community with a bunch of random people who are coming to Point Loma for their first year. I had a super cool experience with it last year and made some of my best friends through that group. But it's super cool. We talk, sometimes we'll have Bible studies, other times we just rant about our day because it's chaotic, and honestly that just forms great community and just builds trust and a sense of belonging. I also just started as a worship intern for the chapel at Point Loma, and that's been a super cool group where I feel, I think the best part of that is just being around people who are a lot like me and have similar passions and a heart for leading worship and everything. I think the overall value of my faith and being a Christian and following Jesus is that I just get to see people the way that God sees them. And that just makes me have this like love just grow for humanity and just grow just for the people who are searching and who are broken. And I'm not any better than anyone else, but it just makes me love just seeing faces on the street who I don't know, and just like knowing that they have a story and that God is working in their life. The person who has had and has the most influence on my faith journey is definitely my dad. Being a pastor's kid, I feel like people can assume that I have all these strict like restrictions on my life, and it's just I'm living under a rock and everything. But I honestly feel like my parents have given me such freedom to explore my faith, and they haven't pressured me to believe anything. And honestly, they've just lived out the love of Christ and humility in their lives so well. Like it's so attractive to me. Like I want to be like them in my life. But yeah, the thing I love the most about my dad is like, when it comes to Christianity, there are all these questions, and a lot of people just want to think so black and white and have this figured out and this figured out. But I just love how well my dad has displayed that above all else, we just need to love our neighbor. And especially there's so many things going on during this time where you're like, oh, like, can people be like this? Can people do this? Is this okay in God's eyes? And honestly, like the biggest thing my dad has taught me is that when he like enters heaven, he'd rather Jesus say, oh, like Travis, you've been way too gracious and way too loving in this way. So that's been a like solid foundation that I've had for viewing my life and my faith journey, is that it is better to love and be gracious than to isolate people and put them in corners. And yeah, better to love always.
Visit springtideresearch.org to hear more voices of young people and to download the State of Religion and Young People 2020 report, which is free thanks to a very generous donation. Today's show was produced by Marta Abuaji and TJ Birnbaum, with original music by high school student Christian Unthank. Special thanks to our guest today and to all the young people whose perspectives and insights make our research possible. Remember to find us on social media at We Are Springtide and share your own stories with the hashtag ShowUpForYoungPeople. Thanks for listening.